So hopefully those of you at home are seeing the opening title slide, Fordham Gabelli School of Business Summer Advising Session, class of 2025. And there's our true fearless leader, Father McShane, the president of the university. Unfortunately, because of COVID, many of you haven't visited campus before today, and so you haven't yet heard from Father McShane, but you will, maybe you did it on Zoom session. You will on orientation day on Sunday, August 29th. He will be here, and he's always entertaining. He's such a good speaker that I can tell you ahead of time you're going to enjoy him, and you'll still enjoy it. Then it's a little blurry, but there's our provost, who's sort of the vice president in charge of all academic areas, from the undergrad, the grad programs, the law school, and everything. His name is Dennis Jacobs. And the Gabelli School of Business is named for Mario Gabelli. So you know him. He runs a company called Gamco, and he's the fellow in the middle there. He's being blocked a little bit by this. And then our dean, Donna Rapaccioli, who you'll see frequently. She'll be at different events you go to. If you do well in your first year, you get on the dean's list. She'll be the one giving you the certificate. We actually have something. Dean's list is based on a full academic year, but in freshman year, the very first semester of freshman year, it's such an important semester where you're making this transition to college. So we have a special award called the Woolworth Award, which goes to any incoming first-year student who manages a 3.6 or better GPA in their first semester. So she would be there for that award as well. And but you'll see her a lot. She's splits her time between the Rose Hill campus and this campus, but she loves to chat with students, and she'll conduct a town hall each semester to let students voice their concerns and issues. And she really takes down notes on anything and responds to concerns. And she's assisted by Professor Elizabeth Cosenza, who's the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Business Programs. And she herself is in the area of business law, a graduate of Fordham. Both Dean Rapaccioli and Dean Cosenza were Fordham undergrads, and Dean Cosenza did a law degree at Harvard. And there I am. So I'm your assistant dean for and the coordinator for the business program here at Lincoln Center, which, as you know, is a global business major. So all of you are global business majors, but then you're going to choose a concentration within that, a primary concentration. We'll talk about that a little bit today. So we're going to do just some basics, all right? Some of this is, if you did any of the Zoom sessions I had in June, you may have heard some of this already, but there's so much going on. I'm sure it's helpful to hear things a couple times. So we're going to cover some basics about the curriculum, and then talk about your own schedule for the fall, and the group advising sessions that I'll do with you in the fall, and then a little bit about these other topics, not too much, just touch upon them. So this is the way our course schedules work at this campus. As you can see, if you look at the colors, like Tuesdays, yeah, I'm gonna minimize it. If you look at Tuesday, the colors, and Friday, the colors are the same. So most classes, they meet on Tuesday, meet at the same time on Friday. And then similarly with Monday, and somebody's been people. The same thing with Monday. Generally, they're paired with Thursday, except right in the middle of the day, you notice that K&L on Monday are paired with Wednesday. So 11:30 Monday, 11:30 Wednesday, 1 o'clock Monday, 1 o'clock Wednesday. And the reason for that is on Thursdays, from 11:30 to 2, we have an activity block. So a lot of the student clubs meet during that time and so forth. So you don't have class during all of these different blocks. In fact, something you're going to hear me say a lot between now and the fall is that college is different from high school in certain ways. And one of them is, many of you have a schedule that looks more like this. And you say, wow, that's all my classes. I have so much free time. And every one of you who's saying that to yourself, looking at all that white space and saying, look at all my free time, you're in trouble already. And you haven't even gotten me, right? Because one of the things about college is that your class time and your professors are a time to dig into the work a bit, but you have to do a lot of that digging on your own outside of class time. You may be surprised to hear that your professor's first job is not teaching. Okay, Fordham is as good a school as it is because it's known as a research university. So our full-time professors their main job is doing research in their field. They are exploring their field. They are creating new knowledge in their field. They're writing books and articles and going out and giving conferences. And that's really their first job is developing knowledge in that field. Teaching is a second job for them. And for many of them, it's part of the job they enjoy the most, working with you and teaching you. But they're there in the classroom to give you some ideas, to engage with you about the ideas you're reading. But you need to engage with them, all right? They're not going to, spoon feed you like perhaps you were used to in lower grades. They're going to be available not only during class time, but they'll also offer office hours. And you should plan to visit them during their office hours at least a couple times. When you have some topic going on in class that you don't really understand, take the advantage of going to see them in their office hours. Or if there's something interesting you find that you just want to chat a little bit more. Think of it this way: if in the course of your semester, you visit each professor at least once in their office hours, and inevitably certain professors you're going to relate to, and they're going to relate to you. Because when you become juniors and seniors, you're going to need to go back to one of your professors and ask for a recommendation for something. So it's important that you have had that rapport with your professors so that they know who you are, and one of them who you related well with could do a nice recommendation for you. So this is something that too many students don't take advantage of. Is the availability of the professors. We're a small school, and your professors are going to know you. The classes are small; they're going to know who you are, which could be good or bad, right? Also, it's important that you are reading and preparing for classes during this white space, because in the class period, you want to be able to engage the professor. You want to ask a question, you want to make a comment, and you can't do that if you haven't been reading the material. So if you don't have a paper due until early November, don't say, oh, so I don't need to open that textbook for a while, right? That would be a mistake, right? Not only is it important that you engage the professor, but it'll make the hour and 15 minutes go by much more quickly if you're engaging the professor and engaging the material from week to week to week. So keep up each week with the topics and the material being covered. I urge you to do that. If you have any questions at any point, just raise your hand. You'll notice that one class does not meet more than once. It meets on Wednesday afternoons, the ground floor. That's your kind of intro business kind of class. And but it meets for a double period. Okay. Yes.
So I heard like people do 4-day weekends, 4-day weeks. How do you do that if you have to do Monday, Thursday, and Tuesday, Friday?
Well, as you go along, this semester you're registered. All right, I took care of that to make sure you got all the classes you need. As you go along, you'll be registering yourself. So in our group advising sessions, I'll be teaching you how to get ready for the spring semester. And in November, there'll be a day when you'll be allowed to go in and register yourself for your spring classes. Now, it's a hierarchy system. So when registration week comes along, the seniors who are almost finished get to register before everybody else. Now, most of the classes seniors are choosing to take are not things you're going to be taking anyway. But, we obviously want to give them a chance to get any class they still need. So they register first. Juniors register the next, couple days later. And a couple days later, the sophomores register. And a couple days later, you'll register. So some of the things you're going to be looking for, only freshmen are taking anyway. But others, maybe some sophomores are still taking those classes. So some spaces might already be filled up. So you may or may not, in freshman year, be able to design exactly the schedule you want. But by junior, senior year, you'll be more likely able to create the schedule you want. So sometimes a student will end up with classes on only 4 days or 3 days even. It's almost easier to have 3 days than 4 because, like I said, Mondays and Thursdays are usually paired up, Tuesdays and Fridays are usually paired up. So it's kind of hard to say, I'm gonna have no classes on Friday, but if you don't classes on Friday, you probably don't have classes on Tuesday either, you know? So, then you're gonna have a very busy Monday, Wednesday, Thursday are gonna be packed. Monday especially will be classes almost all day long. So, you know, everybody knows themselves, you know whether you work better that way or not. But generally, I try to do a schedule something like this, where you're somewhat spread out, so you have a balance to your week, all right? Okay. In the course of the 4 years, you need to finish 40 courses to graduate. So basically 5 courses each semester, okay? And these can be looked at as being in 4 different buckets, all right? So here you see in the green, the liberal arts core courses. So these will be English, philosophy, history, fine arts, things that we want you to take, even though you're business students, we want you to have a broad education that includes some history, some English writing skills, you know, some philosophy. These are things that will help you as business people. It'll help you, philosophy will help you think critically about things and frame questions in the correct way. Your English classes will always help you be better writers, and history will give you a sense of where in the world business fits in. All right, so these are all helpful, but they're also going to help you just become more interesting people. And sometimes they're going to be classes you would never have chosen on your own, but you're going to end up saying, you know, that was one of my favorite classes. So you have these liberal arts core courses that also include math, 2 math classes and 3 economics classes you'll be taking probably in this first year. Most of you macro, micro, and statistics, not all in the fall. I probably gave you most of you macro and micro in the fall and leave stats for the spring, but some of you I gave you stats in the fall, because even if you did AP stats, we want you to take our stats class, because you're not only going to take stats class number 1, you can also take a second stats class later. And the economics department doesn't feel that AP stats prepares you well enough for that second stats class. So I figure if you already took AP stats, then I gave you stats in the fall because maybe it'll be a little bit easier for you because you've had it before. And that's always a good thing in your freshman first semester. If you had AP macro or micro, and you got a 4 or a 5 in the exam, then you get credit for those and you don't have to take them again here. So that's another reason why some of you gave you stats in the fall, because you already get credit for micro or macro, right? All of you should either have credit for micro or taking micro in the fall. That's important because you're going to take accounting in the spring. And it's helpful to have microeconomics before you do accounting. So if by some mistake or something, or it turns out when you find out your AP scores this month, you didn't get the 4 or the 5 in micro and you need to take it again, please let me know. I may have to make an adjustment to your schedule to get you micro in the fall. Right? Any questions about that? If you think you should be getting college credit for an AP exam that you got a 4 or 5 in, or IB, if you had a high level area in the international baccalaureate program and you got a 5, 6, or 7 in that exam, those are things we would give you college credit for. So if there's something you think is missing, please let me know. Okay. So you have your liberal arts courses. Some of them are truly humanities types courses, like I said, philosophy, history, English, and then others are math and econ, which are taught by Fordham College professors. Those departments come under Fordham College, so it's considered part of the liberal arts. But you can see why econ and math will have direct emphasis in the skills you need for business. Then you see the blue box is 13 core business courses. One of those you'll be taking this fall, that's the ground floor class. And you'll take a bunch of those core business courses, not all of them, but a good number of the rest of them in the fall of your sophomore year, which is when we do this very important project we call the consulting challenge. And you probably heard us speak about this already, but you'll be taking your finance, marketing, management, business communications, info systems, and you'll take them in a way where you'll be on a team with 4 or 5 other students, And your team will all have those classes at the same time. Because all that white space we talked about before, you're gonna need to use some of that as a team to meet during the semester to work on this project. You're gonna be given a company, okay? Last year, some of the companies we had were General Motors, General Mills, JetBlue Airlines, Intel. You'll have a company like that assigned to your team, and what you're learning in marketing and finance and so forth, you're gonna apply that to that company in real time and look at what the financial situation of the company is, what industry are they in, who are their competitors, what market share do they have, and your team are acting as a team of consultants. And at the end of the semester, you have to deliver your presentation on what you believe that company should be doing. Given the opportunities and challenges facing that company, what do you recommend as a team of consultants for the company to do? And your business communication professors will teach you what you need to know to do a really good PowerPoint presentation and to get up and deliver that. Some of you might be already pretty adept at getting up and speaking before others. Some of you may be very, have a lot of trepidation about it. By the end of that fall semester of sophomore year, you will know how to do it. You will get up and you will deliver your part of the presentation. So you'll do a lot of the business core in your sophomore year. And then the red box is that primary concentration I talked about before. Most of those classes will be taken during junior and senior year. And you'll have some electives also that you can use at any point along the way. You may want to start taking something even this coming spring towards an elective if there's some other area that you're also interested in having as a complement to your business area. You can start taking classes whenever you want in that, and those would count towards your 7 electives that are part of those 40 courses, right? Now the concentration, the red box there, as I said, all of you are global business majors, but you will end up choosing one of 4 concentrations, and maybe you've already indicated along the way, but don't worry about the one you indicated along the way. If you change your mind, that's fine. You really don't have to settle for sure on it until about halfway through sophomore year. When you're registering for spring of sophomore year or for fall of junior year, that's when you're going to be picking your first classes in this concentration. And those concentrations are global finance, global marketing, and digital media and technology. And that one, there's 2 tracks. There's digital media and technology with an emphasis on the media side, and there's digital media and technology with an emphasis more on the tech side. So you will choose one of those 4 as your primary concentration. If you want, you can also do a secondary concentration, which just requires 3 more courses in that particular area. But I emphasize that don't feel like you're going to distinguish yourself by having a major, a minor, a concentration, another secondary. That's not the best way to make yourself stand out. You know, in the American system, you're expected to have, you know, a broad education. That's where the core courses come in. And then you're expected to go deep in at least one area, and that's where your primary concentration comes in. But that's all you're really expected to do. So rather than thinking you're decorating a tree and you want to hang as many different ornaments on it as you can, think about the fact that the other way to distinguish yourself is you have your major, you have your 1 primary concentration, and then do as well as you can. Keep as high a GPA as you can. That will also distinguish you, okay? But if you really do have an interest in a related area and you want to do a minor in something or a secondary concentration, you know, you do have some flexibility with your electives to do that, okay? Questions? The ground floor, as I said, is kind of an introduction to business. You'll have speakers almost every week. You'll have a speaker come in to talk about a different aspect of business. You'll hear about the finance side, the marketing side, even about business law, a little bit about all the different aspects of business. So this is the beginning to help you think through what aspect of business you maybe want to get more involved in. You'll be on a team already this fall, all right? It's not as big a team project as the one I talked about for sophomore year, but already this fall, you'll be on a team for the ground floor, and you'll be asked to design a company, all right? On your team, design a business, okay? and they'll talk more about how to do that as part of the ground floor. But as I said, you'll also have essays several times during the semester. You'll have an essay to write on a particular area of business that you're studying. So the ground floor also serves as a first writing class, right? And that's why we generally don't give you your English composition class until spring, because then that's also a class where you're going to do a lot of fundamentals of writing, okay? By the way, these slides, you may have already seen these slides from a Zoom session we did in June, or if you want, just let me know and I'll send you a copy of them, so you don't need to worry about taking notes or anything on all this. So those liberal arts core courses we talked about, here's a whole list of them. The ones above the yellow line there, those are things that you really need to have finished in freshman year. So macro, micro, stats, math for business, finite math, and math for business calculus, right? So some you'll be doing in the fall, and the others you'll be doing in the spring. Along with accounting, you'll need to do accounting in the spring. And then the ones below the line, you should probably do at least a couple of these in your first year, but some of them you'll definitely not have time to do until spring or sophomore year, or even junior and senior year. There's no problem with some of these core courses you're finishing in junior or even senior year. There's nothing wrong. You don't have to get them all done by a certain. Okay, so this is, not all of you will have schedules exactly like this, but this is more or less a typical situation that many of you will have. In the fall, you'll have ground floor, math for business, finite, macro, micro, and then maybe philosophy of nature. And then in the spring, you might do English composition 2, math for business calculus, statistics, accounting, and maybe basic critical reason, your first theology core requirement. Then you see one more thing in the spring. You will have this isn't a full course, but it's a 1 credit thing that we call an integrated project. You'll have one each year. And this one you have in the spring of freshman year is called career exploration. So this is a first opportunity for you to begin to think about how your business studies are going to apply towards your career. And we have at the university a career services office, which is actually right down the hall on this floor. No, that way. And they're available to you and to all the students at the university to learn about the career opportunities. They keep a database of jobs and internships that you can look at and start applying to, maybe for even summer or freshman year, you might want to do an internship. But then within the Gabelli School of Business, we have sort of our own career advisors who come out of industry. So we have someone who's more of an expert in the finance area, one who's more an expert in marketing and media. So depending on what area you end up wanting to go towards, we have advisors who will work with you specifically on developing your resume and really tear it apart and make it as good as it can be. And you'll develop a LinkedIn profile during this career exploration. You will go to a career fair, get to see what that's like, right? And so that in sophomore and junior year, when you're really going to career fairs with your resume in hand, looking to get internships, you'll already have some experience of what a career fair is. So that'll give you a leg up on the whole career exploration. Any questions about? Yes.
How many students would you say on average from the business program get internships the summer of their freshman?
It's hard for me to say exactly how many. I think the ones who are more interested, will usually find something. Now, that first internship you get after freshman year might be an unpaid internship, where what you're getting experience, and then you have something on your resume, so that the next time you apply for an internship, they see that you already have some experience. But I'll tell you that nearly 100% of our students do at least 1 or 2, and here at Lincoln Center, many of them do 3 or 4 internships during the 4 years. And usually they work to get an internship in the summer after junior year, which hopefully is something that they're interested in, and for which by the end of the summer, they already have a job offer for when they graduate a year later that they want you back because you impressed them. And that's true of our Gabelli students, and tends to be very true. We already have a lot of companies that are looking for Fordham students, and some of our alumni will purposely look for a Fordham student for their places. Yeah.
How common would you say are internships during the school year for people that are
Very common, especially as you get into spring of sophomore year or junior and senior year. Because right here, Lincoln Center, you're a few blocks away, or you're a couple of subway stops away from so many companies and businesses. So it's not hard to, maybe by then you are crafting a schedule where you have a day where you don't have many classes, or you only have something in the morning, and then you can go off and do an internship. But you can actually have a class early in the morning, go do an internship for 3 or 4 hours, and then come back for an evening class. I mean, it's that convenient. But definitely, many of our students do internships during the school year, which is again one of the great advantages of being here. This is just for a few of you who maybe do come in with a lot of AP credits or things like that. Just so you know, there are a whole lot of things you can take this first year, because you cannot go into those core business courses like marketing and finance and so forth until next fall when we do that big team project. So unless you think you'll be wasting your time, you won't. There's always things that you can take to finish out some of your liberal arts core requirements, or there are a couple of things on the business side that you can take. You don't have to wait till next fall of sophomore year to take. You could take your business law class or that second statistics class called statistical decision. So this is more looking at all 4 years, and you've already sort of talked about this. What you're doing in freshman year is a lot of the liberal arts core, ground floor, maybe some electives if you're interested. You're not required to do a foreign language, but if you're interested in taking a semester of a foreign language, that would come in as one of those electives that you need for your 40 courses. Sophomore year, you'll be doing that big project in the fall, and then there's a few things in the spring that you'll have to do, like, what we do in the fall is we give you your business communication class and your information systems class. We break those into 2 parts, and you do part 1 in the fall and part 2 in the spring, because we want you to have a little of both of those skills for that team project, but we don't want to overload you with 7 courses in 1 semester. So there are some things you'll have to do in the spring of sophomore year, but you'll also have time then to start taking electives, or to start exploring your concentration, or to move along. And junior and senior year, you'll definitely be deep in your concentration courses, finishing up some of your core courses. Maybe you'll choose to do a semester of study abroad. That could be done as early as spring of sophomore year if you go to our campus in London, where you can take any of the classes you absolutely need to take. So if you want to go to Fordham's London campus as your study abroad semester, you can do that as early as spring of sophomore year. Or in fall or spring of junior year, you can go there to London, or almost anywhere else. We have partner programs in about 100 or more places around the world. Okay. Now, some of you who deposited back in, oh, yes, let's stop for a question.
Can you do more than 1 study abroad semester?
Yes, it has been done. We would need to talk early on and strategize about, what your concentration is going to be and when to get the courses you need. So it depends, is really the answer. But generally speaking, yes, it is possible. Especially if one of the semesters is in London, because there you can get a lot of the courses that you absolutely need for Fordham. Okay, so many of you who deposited back in May already got on to what we call my.fordham.edu, or what we used to call my.fordham.edu, because as you may know by now, in June, my.fordham.edu went away. And we've redesigned our website, our general website, which is www.fordham.edu. And now it is interactive more, in the sense that, say it's like Amazon. Anybody can go to Amazon and look at what they're selling and so forth. But if you're a member of Amazon, when you log in there, that website knows it's you, and they can show you whatever orders you made or whatever. That's the way our website now works. So you just go to the regular www.fordham.edu, but at the top you log in with that username and password that you created. Then you have 2 things up at the top. You have my pages and my apps. So certain things you're going to find under the my apps, and other things you're going to find by going to my pages, and generally you'll go to the student page. Now you have 2 pages though that are important now. You have a student page and you have a new student page. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this by now. The new student page is really about this summer. It's a lot of things you need to do this summer as you're entering for it. So you had to upload a photo ID. If you haven't done that already, please do it. There's some immunization documents you need to settle with the health office. So if you haven't gotten those done, get those done. You can manage your tuition, which was already sent out, and many of you have already started working on getting that settled. All those things are available to you under your new student page. But then the student page is also something you're going to use for all 4 years, and you're going to access a lot of information through your student page. So if you go to the student page, these 4 rectangles at the top, those will change during the year, depending on what part of the year. Like when you get to registration time, it'll have to do a lot with registration, So right now they have managing tuition, because that's obviously on a lot of people's minds right now, financial aid, degree works, which we're going to look at in a second, ordering a transcript. Well, it's too early for you to do that. But then down here you see student dashboard. You'll see a lot. This is like any website. You got to go in and play around and explore it, right? So a lot of things you'll want to look at there in the student dashboard. Or this is for student registration, which fortunately, like I said, you don't have to really worry about because you're already registered. But you can go here, and then you'll get to this box, register for classes, and this page with these 6 icons. Okay. Later on, when you're registering, say for the spring semester, you'll use a lot of these. You'll use browse classes to look at what's being available that semester. You'll go to plan ahead, where you can actually put in the classes you want to register for in the spring. And you can do that ahead of time. And that way, on the morning of registration, you just go to your plan and submit your plan. And it's like you're asking for all those 5 classes like that. And if you're lucky, you'll get all of them, or at least you'll get 3 or 4 of them. And you just have to go in and figure out how to, you always have to have backup classes, right? Because you may not get the first 5 that you wanted. But this one you can look at right now, view registration information. That's where you can see what I did for you, the registration you have for this fall. So you can see precisely what you have. So I had a volunteer, Daniel. Let's have you do this. Let me stop sharing for a moment. And here's the website, and we go up to the top and we log in. Right, so you go ahead and log in. Give him a hand. Come on, yeah, give him a hand. Okay, so we go to my pages, to the student page, and we go down to that registration area. Register for classes, even though we're not really registering for classes, but we want to get to these 6 icons. And now we're going to go to the view registration information. And so then you'll see the split screen. The top part gives you a list of the classes, and then the bottom part gives you a picture of your schedule. Okay, so he's got a couple at 10 o'clock, and then he's got several in the afternoon. So it looks a lot like what we looked at before. Okay, and he's got the ground floor there on Wednesday afternoon. Okay, questions? All of you can view your registration if you haven't already. And then if we go to go back to my apps, you can actually do this from my pages also, because you saw they had a box for DegreeWorks, but I'm going to purposely show you my apps. There's another way to get to DegreeWorks. Just go to my apps, and you've got to scroll down a bit, because there's global apps, administrative apps, academic apps, because that's where we're going to find it. You see this graduation cap? The icon of the graduation cap, that's DegreeWorks. So if we click in there, and it seems to be working, okay. And there, it already knows it's Daniel, and up from DegreeWorks. So at the top will be how many credits you have earned, but most of you haven't earned it yet, and you don't have a GPA yet. But you see it has here spring 2025 is your expected graduation term, and my name above that is your advisor. So then this top area is kind of like umbrella things that you need to graduate. I'm going to skip that for now. You can look at it But I want to go down to these different areas. So this is your liberal arts core. So remember the first bucket we looked at was the liberal arts core, and here are those same courses listed. And the red boxes are things you still need to do to graduate. The blue boxes with a little white tilde in it, those are things you're currently registered in, but you haven't finished the course yet, so you don't yet have credit for it. But it knows that you're doing that class this fall, and once you finish the class, it'll become a green box with a white check mark, and then you're done. So obviously, what you need to graduate 4 years from now is all these boxes have to become those green boxes. So DegreeWorks is something you should be looking at least a couple times each semester, right before registration week and right after registration week. So before registration week, you look at it to say, what do I want to be taking next? And I'll be doing a lot of advising with you on what you should be taking in spring of freshman year and so forth. But you also can make some of those choices within certain parameters by just looking at DegreeWorks and seeing what you want to take next, which of these boxes you want to knock off next. And after you register, a couple days later, you should come back to DegreeWorks and they should appear now as blue boxes, right? Because you've already enrolled in that course for next semester and it knows you haven't taken it yet, but it shows up as a blue box. So you should be able to make sure, suppose you register for a class thinking it's going to fulfill your fine arts core requirement, but this fine arts core requirement still shows as a red box, then obviously something's wrong. So maybe the class you registered for is not one of the courses that fulfills that. For example, you might sign up for photography thinking that'll be fun and it'll fulfill fine arts, but it doesn't, right? The fine arts core requirement, you need to take either art history, music history, invitation to theater, or there are two visual arts courses. One is called urbanism, which has to do with like architecture and city planning. And the other is called visual thinking, which is kind of a general design class. So those are the ones that will fulfill the fine arts core. So make sure that what you registered for is doing what you think it's doing. Then here's your business course. So right away you see the ground floor, the top, but the rest are red boxes because a lot of these you're going to do in the fall of sophomore year when you do that core consulting challenge project. Then at the bottom there you see those 4 IPs I talked about. The career exploration you'll do this coming spring. The consulting challenge is that project you'll do next fall, the fall of sophomore year. Then in junior year, you'll take another one of these 1 credit IPs called analytics IP, where you'll learn about how to take data and present it as part of an analytic presentation. And then the final one you'll do in senior year is called the leadership IP. So that obviously is about becoming a business leader. These are those courses I talked about that you'll take in sophomore year that are split in 2. So you'll take part 1 in the fall and part 2 in the spring. And then comes your primary concentration, right? So right now, Daniel has said he wants to do global finance and business economics as his concentration. Now, he can change his mind between now and middle of sophomore year, but if he stays with this, these are the required courses, and then he has an elective that also has to fulfill like a quantitative requirement. And then finally comes those general electives that we talked about. 5 of them are from the liberal arts area, and the other 2 are free, which means they can either be liberal arts courses or business courses. So your 7 electives. And at the very bottom of DegreeWorks is the current in-progress courses, so the things he's taking in the fall. So fall 2021. And you see he has mostly 3 credit courses, but statistics is a 4 credit course. Any questions about DegreeWorks? Or anything else so far? I'm going to log out then. Oh, sorry about that, folks at home.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Is there required reading for our incoming students on any of the courses, and where would they find it? When will it be
Good
available?
question.
Because of the open people and better.
Yeah, so the question is, are there any required reading this summer to get ready for the first year of college? And the answer is yes. And it's something that we were going to be talking about. Let me just share the screen again. Can you help me with the, I know where I put that share the screen. Buried it somewhere. All right, so Okay, so let me jump ahead and answer the question that's been asked. This summer, we did a series of things that we called Gabelli Smart, and I hope you took advantage of some of them. Early on in June, we had some best lectures by some of the professors who shared by Zoom sessions on topics that are of interest to them. Any of you jumped in on any of those? Okay, very good, great. Then I did some sessions in June also about some of this similar advising material. Then we had a session with older students who we call our Gabelli mentors. So hopefully some of you attended those sessions with your Gabelli mentors. You will meet those students again on at your academic orientation. So Sunday, August 29 is move-in day for those who are moving on campus, and everybody else, even commuter students, will come to campus that day for the beginning of orientation. Monday, August 30th, will be a full day of orientation on what we call student life matters. And then on Tuesday, August 31, will be academic orientation. So that'll be with me again. And you'll meet some of your professors, and Dean Rapiccioli will greet you, so forth. At lunch that day, you will have lunch in smaller groups with those older students who you met already on the Zoom session, for those of you who are on it. So you'll have a chance to talk with an older student about anything at that point that you want to ask questions about, and so forth. By the way, older students can be, an important part of your networking. All right, when you do career exploration, one of the things you're going to learn is networking. You've got to start networking. There may be people in your family, there may be friends of your family who are, interesting business connections, and without haranguing them, you want to start developing an idea that these are part of your network, and talk with them about business sometimes, and eventually maybe send them an email saying, hey, any ideas about this? I'm interested in this aspect of business. Would you have any ideas? So this is the way you start developing your network. And these older students can be part of your network because they're going to be doing internships a couple years ahead of you. And sometimes they hand their internships down to somebody who's a couple years below them in the program. And so that's another way to get to internships. So that day you'll get to meet your Gabelli advisors, Gabelli mentors. Recently, we have sessions with alumni. A couple of you said you went to those. Some of our alumni presented over Zoom and answered questions and so forth. So we pretty much finished, and then today, July 19th, is the second summer orientation program, which here you are. So the only thing we have left is the shared summer reading. Okay, there you go. Long way around to get to your answer. So we will be sending you something very soon in the next week or so. And it's a book that we're going to send you as an ebook, which we'd like you to read during the month of August. It's an easy read, I think. The author presents her information through a bunch of narratives, stories about people she knows, so it's kind of interesting the way she presents. And it's on a topic of great interest to all of us, I think, at this time in our cultural reality of this country. So we hope you'll enjoy it. And that's all I want to say about it right now. So you'll be getting something very soon. Also, in the next few weeks, especially in late August, beginning of September, you will be asked to do several tutorials, okay? Only one of those is from me. It's called the Academic Integrity Tutorial, okay? So we will ask you to learn a little bit about academic integrity. Now, obviously, academic integrity has a little bit to do with cheating, which of course we don't want anybody to do. But it's also a lot about just, now that you're at this level of academics, you're expected to write papers where you're not just saying, oh, I think this, right? It's not just about what you think. It's about, I've read these things in class, and this is what I think about what these authors have said. I think this person said this, and I thought that was interesting, but it differed from what this author said. So you're gonna need to quote these authors and cite where you got this information, right? Now, you've already been doing this, I'm sure, in high school in many cases, but you're at a new level, right? In terms of academic citations. You need to follow the right method of citing your work, and even if you're handing in a draft, you need to cite anything that's not your own work. Any ideas that you've taken from the book or an article, you've got to show that, right? So academic integrity tutorial will walk you through a lot of that information. Like I said, there'll be a couple of other tutorials that will come from the student life area, the student, some of the people who are helping you with this orientation today, work with the student affairs, student involvement office, and they conduct a couple of tutorials on college life. You know, to be something I'm sure that has to do with the issues of sexual harassment, and how to be careful about the way you present yourself in your dealings with each other. And I'm sure that one of them has to do with the use of alcohol and other substances, which is in our culture, for better or worse, often a problem in college years. So these are things we offer to help you have a good experience in college. So you'll deal with the student involvement office if you have any questions about those particular tutorials. Okay. One of the keys to the Gabelli School of Business at Fordham is the fact that you're here in New York, and this will come out in a lot of different ways. It will come out because some of your professors are people who have worked or even are still working in industry, and will bring all of that expertise to the classroom. And other activities you can do in part of your student clubs or other ways to enjoy and involve yourself in New York City. And then you'll have a chance to go abroad if you really want to for a semester, as I said before. We also offer some study tours or immersion classes, we call them, where you meet here for several weeks during the semester, but then at the end of the semester, you go for like a week or 10 days to a country and explore some of what you were studying. So that's another way to have that international experience. There are other things you can do that will be part of being of service and also building your own skill set. There's a thing called Urban Plunge, which happens right before orientation. So you should probably have already applied for that if you're interested. But if you go to your emails, you should have gotten something about Urban Plunge. If you're interested, contact the, it's called CCEL, Community Involved Learning, or Center for Community and Engaged Learning. So they conduct this Urban Plunge. It's a great opportunity. You come a few days before orientation and you work in teams, and you can go out to a neighborhood and do a service project one day during those Urban Plunge. We at the Gabelli School have a student club kind of thing called Fair Trade. It's based more at the Rose Hill campus, but some of the Lincoln Center students have been involved with it, where it involves working with small businesses in different countries around the world and assisting them in developing, being part of a fair trade marketplace. We have a CCEL also, that same group, Community Engaged Learning. They offer also global outreach trips, which you can sign up for during your 4 years, where you go as a team either to another part of the country or to another country and spend a week or 10 days doing service as a team. But it's a lot of preparation. You have to meet weekly for several weeks before you go, so you can develop your team identity and go out as a team to do this service project. So lots of things like that. Student clubs to get involved with. Many of them are business-oriented clubs, and then others are just around things of interest. Like there are clubs around certain ethnic identities. There are clubs around things like songwriting or theater, for those who are not in the theater major but are interested in doing theater as kind of a fun thing, called Splinter Group. There's an a cappella group. There's a lot of different student clubs here to learn about. So again, maybe I'll just send these slides to everybody again. Some of you already got them, but it has some important emails here, and then social media handles for those of you who tweet things like that. I don't, but and a few, last couple of pages are just some interesting questions. This last page is one I almost recommend printing out and putting on your refrigerator door in your dorm room or at home, because it's got a few really important bullet points about your first year of college. Okay, so any questions? We just have a little bit of time if you have any questions. You have been a great audience. And I think my assistant handed out my business card to most of you. I have some up here if you need them. If you didn't get one. And so you can contact me anytime. Send me an email. If we need to set up a Zoom, we can do that. And I have pretty much an open door policy during the school year, so you can come in and see me pretty easily. This is our biggest freshman class ever, okay? This program started about 7 years ago. This undergrad business program on this campus started about 7 years ago with 80 students. It was actually projected to have 50, but we had 80. And we had 80 for a couple of years. Then we jumped to about 100 for a year or two. Then we went to 120, and the last couple of years before COVID, we had 155 coming in. And we dropped a little bit to 130 last year. And this year we were shooting to get back to 155. And you're at 208 right now. So I have an open door policy, but I may be a little busier this year. So, but thank you all very much.
Thank you.